Hello, and welcome to Higher Results, where business, workforce, and talent intersect. I'm Melody Reagan, a serial entrepreneur and your host. And today we are talking about higher education and how it can help business. One of the things that's been interesting over the last couple of years, higher ed has gone through some changes. We classically have thought about higher ed as a place where we develop our careers, that we get skills, and we move on from a career perspective. But yet now, education and ways of developing skills have diversified. In addition to that, historically, businesses have gone to universities and colleges to get talent and to develop talent. But again, in the diversification, what is the relationship that we as businesses, business leaders, owners should have with our advanced educational institutions? They are an important part of our ecosystem. And today we have with us Jill Terry. She is the Assistant Dean with Graduate Programs at CSU and a very good friend of mine. I want to say welcome, Jill, to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So one of the things that I'd like to start with for everybody, I'd like Jill to share a little bit of her background. Jill has a very extensive background in education, so would you tell us a little bit about yourself
Sure.
and about CSU?
Sure. So I've been in higher ed. It's one of those accidental careers. Do we ever choose them? But I found myself at University of Washington, and this was many years ago. I was running a specialty program, environmental management programs. It was the first of its kind in the country, and it was a great way to step into higher ed. Very creative. I've always operated outside of the bounds of your traditional academic institution, where I've been in sort of the enterprise space. So most of my work has been with executives, executive MBA, executive education. I've been at University of Washington, University of Colorado Boulder. I spent a short stint at Rensselaer Polytechnic in upstate New York, and then back here with CSU about 8 years ago.
Fantastic. Well, tell us about CSU, because CSU is a very special school within the Colorado ecosystem.
Yes, so as a land-grant institution and being the only one in Colorado, we're one of the highest ranked, most recognized schools. We're a Tier 1 research institution, which means nothing to anyone but those of us in academia. But we also have a wide variety of rankings. So we have programs that are ranked nationally and globally. So I am the assistant dean over the graduate programs at the College of Business. So those are anything that's not undergraduate is really in my portfolio. So anything from master's, certificates, executive education, and of course the largest program we offer is our online MBA, which is the #1 ranked program in Colorado, 15th ranked globally by Financial Times. So we've received a lot of recognition for our delivery of our online programs.
I'm really proud of us, by the way.
Yeah, I get pretty excited every time the rankings come out, and we're still, #1, and we've climbed. The last 3 years, we've continued to climb, especially in Financial Times. Which is a huge ranking, huge global ranking that we're very proud of.
So Jill, I'm actually going to start off a couple of questions.
Mm-hmm.
With the way the workforce is changing, we have skilled labor. We've all had the discussions as business owners that we really don't need to have advanced education for every job. So what I would like to know is a degree still relevant? Well,
definitely still relevant. I mean, if you look at the salary numbers, the opportunity that it gives someone, I think it's 37% of men, 35% of women in the population have undergraduate degrees. So it's not huge. I mean, we still have a lot of opportunity for the other workforce development programs. But those students who do choose to go in and get their undergraduate degree can expect to walk out with an average salary of about $55,000. Which is, again, that's
big.
Even when you look at the costs, and I know there's a lot of colleges, CSU, CU, a lot of the state schools are really watching how we impact our students, because again, we're here to serve the state. So we do watch our tuition very closely and how the money's spent.
By the way, the $55,000 today is about the median household income.
Yes.
And most household incomes have 2 to 3 earners. All right, so one thing that I can say, and this is a little bit of going to advance, there are certain disciplines that the only way you're going to truly learn them, not the truly, I'm not going to say somebody couldn't self-educate, because they could, but to become a doctor, to become an attorney,
Yes.
there are paths, and your only option on those paths is to go to university. So share with me how you see advanced degrees playing in, because we can kind of agree with undergrad.
Well, and back to your point, like you don't really want someone building a bridge that has never been to a formal group of study, the STEM programs. So advanced degrees really come in. I'm seeing more and more call for advanced degrees. We've had, double-digit growth in our enrollments over the last 3 years. So we continue to see a very strong push, and this is with a 50% increase in online MBA since 2012. So we're still highly competitive in this marketplace, but there's also huge demand. I think companies are really looking at not only what their technical skills are, but I keep hearing about, and I hate to call them soft skills because they aren't, but leadership, emotional intelligence, like really how to work and manage organizations. And typically people who have strong technical skills, when they get into the management realm, they've never managed budgets. So I always say when you get to managing people, projects, and money, that's the time to start looking at an MBA or a master's degree.
Fantastic. By the way, it actually speeds your experience, because we always talk about, in strength-based cultures, we always talk about knowledge and then skill. So knowledge, you've got to have the base knowledge, and then you have to practice. Here's something that, universities are changing, and the way they deliver education is changing. Can you share with us what are some of the latest and greatest and what's on the horizon?
Certainly. Everything I'm reading and what we're actually developing is a much more modular system where you can take a non-degree certificate program, you can take a certificate program for credit, that credit can then roll into an MBA program. I'm seeing more and more companies that are, I'm going to say spot training, not quite the right word, but really looking at how do you take your top talent and get them a certificate. So it's a 4-credit certificate, not necessarily a full MBA degree. The individual then can take those credits and roll them into the MBA program. Okay. So we are just launching this fall the first 6 classes of our core. So 12 credits, which will then apply towards the 42-credit MBA. This is a great way for an individual who doesn't have those talent, that education, to come back and get those 12 credits. Yeah. And it's all the fundamentals. It's marketing, finance, accounting, leadership, quantitative statistics.
I'm a quant science major. Love quant science. By the way, what I'm actually hearing is I look at the world, everything has to be relevant. So even though you're saying spot, there may be, instead of having to learn 12 things when I only need 2, what's happening is the university is allowing me to just go in and learn the 2. So from a leadership development, if you have someone who is really good in 4 of the areas, but you really need them to learn finance and marketing, you can go do the spot. Or for yourself personally. The other one is, how are you guys changing with regard to delivery mechanisms? Because there's a lot going on there.
So, I will say that if anything has or will disrupt higher education, that's the technology. We've been delivering since the 80s, we've been delivering a distance MBA. So we're not digital, but so we started out with DirecTV, we've done VHS, we've done DVD, and now live streaming. So we have had the opportunity over time to really build our technology and not have to make this huge investment at any one given time. So that's been great. We can now use that to pull apart some of the content. So we can do, small modules. So if a company comes to me and says, and actually I'm doing this right now for a company, we need to train on these 5 topics. We can take our content and say, okay, well, that's great. We can pull this piece out, enhance it, add some customization for your company, but we already have some of that content. So and we have, the studio, we have all sorts of different delivery mechanisms where, you take assessments and So it's really making sure that even as a company, and you're looking at your employees, you want them to learn this, we can assure that. We can actually see if they watched it. We can track them.
Yeah.
So down to how many minutes did that Bob spend watching that video, and did he actually grasp the concepts?
Fantastic. By the way, that's something you didn't realize. It used to be at universities, it was one size fit all, but now what I'm hearing is you're actually customizing it.
Oh,
All right,
very much so.
well, let's talk about business and the relationship of business with universities. So
Yes.
what are programs, what is value that universities can provide to businesses?
So this is one of my most current initiatives. What I'm saying is that we need to create a much stronger connection between businesses and faculty. There's really, as I see it, kind of a virtuous cycle of knowledge creation where companies have executives, they're looking at the future of work, they're looking at these changes in how companies are acquiring talent, retaining talent, and we need to make sure that gets transferred into the faculty. We can do that in a number of ways. I would love to see us do CEO faculty retreats where we actually have some of these really big thought leadership conversations. Faculty joining companies to do research. So some of those case studies, some of that material ends up in the classroom. There's so many connecting opportunities. We really haven't leveraged that as much as we should. We really need to begin to do that. I think that's going to make a much healthier ecosystem, both for the companies who need that information, the faculty who want to make sure their research is applied, and then back to the classroom so those companies are then getting highly qualified and trained students.
So by the way, one of the things that I see, we think about universities from the perspective of talent. So great source for talent acquisition.
Yes.
If you have jobs, you should be posting there. The other thing is talent retention and development. You can do spot. You can also, one of the things that's becoming very popular today is educational benefits where you can provide them. It might be that just as simple as I will pay for one course per year. I mean, it doesn't have to be seriously big budget, but just from a development. And we need our workforce to continue to develop along the way. You can also use it for leadership development at a very focused level. And there are programs that you offer that companies can send someone who you want to groom for the leadership team for a week where they are truly saturated in leadership skills. And so we tend to think of it that way, right? But there are some other benefits. Like one thing you just brought up, research.
Yes.
What we don't think about is that universities are a great source of research. And if you're looking for research within an area or understanding something about your market or where you're going with a product, your university nearby may have something that they could help you with or that you could even piggyback on a program that they have.
Yes, there's, I don't have the list in front of me, but we have faculty that are working on data privacy, teams. One of our faculty, we're actually creating some videos on some of the research so we can actually get this back out to people in a more palatable manner rather than here's the paper with all the abstract
100 pages. That
it's a little overwhelming.
That I will never read. Right.
Right. Too many words.
Yeah, too many.
So it's really like how do we make this more accessible to the public and to the companies and to those people who truly don't believe that the ivory, that we're really doing something valuable in the ivory tower. I mean, all you have to do is reference the Wall Street Journal, The Economist, Harvard Business Review. I mean, there's so many different areas, research areas, where you can go find out ways that you can improve, cutting edge ways that you can improve your business today.
By the way, that's exactly, just as far as across the board, research, understanding what are some latest trends. One of the things that as small to mid-sized business owners, we have this tendency to want to think that universities are actually behind us. But one of the things that I have learned in my interaction, as we go to this global economy, Actually, universities are ahead of us in the global economy. As much as I might be seeing something, there's connective tissue that the universities have where we're in some pretty serious transitions. So
Yes.
all right, well, another one that I don't think people actually think about, going back to research with knowledge transfer, there are technologies that universities come up with that you can buy to start businesses with as well, right?
Right. Yeah, we have an entrepreneurship center that, we actually have, and I know other colleges have partnered with their colleges of business to help create marketing plans and really get that out. So if a faculty member in chemistry has a great new product, how do they get it to market? Do they know it's marketable? So we've been, not as much at CSU, but I know CU's been doing this, and other colleges as well have really done a great job of connecting the knowledge transfer with some of the colleges of business.
You know what, I love that you brought that up, because universities, with your talent, you can get interns, but they're, depending on the class, exactly, they may have a class project where they can write a marketing plan for you, which is super fantastic, or a strategic plan, or come in and validate whatever your process is. It gives you another perspective. In fact, a university just did that for one of the nonprofits that I've been involved with for many years. They came and gave some marketing advice to the nonprofit, which I thought was amazing. The other one is, I have at different times as an entrepreneur been asked to speak at various universities or participate in some classes, which what I love about that, because it's connecting the talent with business, is they actually bring entrepreneurs in, and what's helpful is that also gives us that connective tissue. So what are some thoughts around that?
So you get somebody in there who's really accomplished, and they have this conversation, and I can't tell you how many times they walked away saying, I learned so much from those students. I've had, that interaction, the dynamics with the students, how smart those kids are, it sometimes overwhelms them. And that's been, I think, one of the fun things to watch when we bring in executives. It's not just a one-way delivery if they take the time to actually engage with those students.
By the way, you know how well you know something when you have to teach it. There's no doubt. So let's talk about cost. So I'm a business, I want to send some of my people maybe to take a class, or as an individual wanting to continue to invest in themselves. As far as managing costs, I went looking, and for universities, average cost is running anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 public to private across the U.S. So what should I be expecting, or how should I manage, or what are some ways that I could potentially do some offsets on the cost?
Well, first I will step out and say, you need to figure out what the amortization of that education is going to be. It's I talk to a lot of prospective students who've been concerned about the cost. My first question is, how much did you spend for your last car?
Yeah.
And is that an appreciating or depreciating asset?
Depreciating.
Right.
So I don't have the kind of cars that appreciate.
Very few people do. But it's interesting because people will not blink an eye at spending $50,000 for a luxury vehicle, but spending that amount on themselves is really can sometimes be a really hard conversation. Especially, unfortunately, women in the executive MBA and executive programs realm. I always encourage people to think about what is the additional earning value that you're going to get from that master's degree. 9 times out of 10, people are going to see easily pay for that. The ROI on that is about 3 years.
Okay, fantastic.
Right? So outside of that, though, if you're a company looking to advance and you have a group of people that you want to send, have that conversation with me or someone within the company, the university, because we set up partnerships all the time where if you have some number of students that you want to send, we can easily offer a 10% discount off of any of our enterprise programs. So those are basically our online programs. But that can also extend into our, custom programs. And if you, like we worked with a company out of Cincinnati this fall, they're going to send, 10, 25 students, we can actually look at much larger discounts. So there's ways in which if you're a company really wanting to send your high potentials, and you can parse that out into certificates, custom programming, full online MBA. So it's not like one product that we're going to say, no, you have to take this and this is your discount. We can actually negotiate a pretty healthy discount for a company who really wants to develop their staff.
By the way, we don't tend to think about one-to-one relationships with the university. We tend to say, I'm going to give you this much money for education.
Yes.
So there's benefit. One of the things that you can do is reach out direct to a university. So before we close, there's a couple of things I just want to ask. What is CSU doing to bring local business together? Mm-hmm. Are there any programs that you can share with us? So throughout Colorado, the Front Range, I know you guys extend, and in fact you have quite a few students from all over the place, but what are some of the programs that we should be aware of?
Well, I think obviously, I go back to our online MBA, which is accessible anywhere. I think there's just a lot of ways. This is a great question. I don't know that I have a good answer for you.
Yes, you do.
That's not part of what
That's not part of it.
So, we have a lot of different programs, a lot of different options ranging from 12 credits to 42 credits to 30 credits. I mean, we have so many different options in the credit side. We also have the non-credit side. So, if you're looking to build some of these if you're looking to build some of the spot training. So those are some areas that I would point you to. But we are trying to bring together companies and executives more frequently to have these conversations. I think that's an important, just as much as we want to learn from the companies and bring that into our knowledge network, we also want to create that knowledge network with other companies and CEOs.
Fantastic. Well, a couple of things I'm going to say for you in thinking about your universities. We work with a lot of employers at Eye to Eye that they never even think about recruiting at their local universities. And think about temp staff. While they're in college, they can work for you on a part-time basis, intern programs. The other one is to check into the universities and see what kind of research they're doing. That research can help and you might be able to participate. And the other thing is they may have something in motion that you could actually piggyback on, which would reduce the cost for you to complete that research as well. So It's like sharing with others. One of the things that I know Jill and I have had conversations about is Jill has some interesting initiatives that she is considering right now that will bring together more business leaders with the university and create connection between business leaders. So check in with CSU to learn about that and check in with some other higher educational institutions. The other one, I love what you said about developing both certificate and MBA is, and that you will customize because you can do little bits. You might want to have a standard platform for each of your senior executives as opposed to assuming, get everybody on the same page and maybe go and create for your leadership team or part of your leadership development that these are the 2 to 8 or 10 or whatever courses or credits that come together to build your leadership team into the leadership team that you need. So how would somebody go about getting connected with CSU? What do you recommend?
Well, I would just suggest to contact me, contact the College of Business. You'll find me on there, you'll find all of my colleagues, and connect. Feel free to reach out to any one of us, and we'll certainly love to sit down with you and have that conversation.
Okay, so my one last little thing is if you had one piece of advice for someone engaging with the university or considering what's that one little piece of advice that you would give somebody, Jill?
That one's easy. Never stop learning. The life cycle of education is faster and faster. And so, continue to take advantage of any benefit you might have and really continue to explore how to improve yourself because the coming marketplace is going to demand that.
Jill, I just can't thank you enough for being with us today
Thank
and
you.
sharing your experience and your insights. Fantastic. And I want to thank all of you for being with us today. Here's to higher results, and we're going to look forward to seeing you online. Please join us again next week. And if you miss a show on our podcast, you can always come back and find it at eye2eyeworkforce.com/higher-results. So please join us online. Until then, have a great week.